Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. There is need to make the police forces more sensitive and train them in emerging technologies. That was what Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized on at the 57th All India Conference of Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police. At the three-day conference, the Prime Minister also recommended repealing obsolete criminal laws and building standards for police organizations across states. Also, to improve jail management, the Prime Minister suggested prison reforms which are much awaited. He also discussed strengthening of border and coastal security by organizing frequent visits of officials. Emphasizing on the importance of the National Data Governance Framework, the Prime Minister said it will help in smoothing of data exchange across the agencies. Held in hybrid format, the conference also discussed a wide range of issues like cybercrime, counter-terrorism challenges, left-wing extremism, capacity building, futuristic themes in policing and security, etc. So we'll analyze some of these significant ones on the program today with an eminent panel of guests who are joining me. Pleased to have with us in the studio Mr. Somesh Goel, former DGP Himachal Pradesh, Dr. Surat Singh, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, and joining us virtually is Mr. O.P. Singh, former DGP, Uttar Pradesh. Delighted to have all three of you gentlemen join us on the program today, and we'll hear from you about the important issues that were discussed at this important conference and your perspectives on how to take them forward. Mr. Goel, allow me to begin the program today with you. So we are all aware how important this conference is on key policing, internal security issues. The Prime Minister has also made several recommendations. But if I could begin by asking about some of the key takeaways that you think have been from this important conference.
Well, this was the 57th conference of DGs and IGs. But I must say that ever since Mr. Modi has come as the Prime Minister, he has given a new meaning to it. He is perhaps the first one in the history who has attended it regularly for 2 days at least. And he has listened to all the presentations and given his point of view. I think he set the agenda in the Guwahati conference when he gave the concept of smart policing. And then he talked about One Bharat, One Police. You know, if you look at the takeaways from this conference, I think this was very professionally accomplished conference in the sense that it touched upon all the major aspects of policing, be it internal security, dealing with the terrorism, radicalization, Maoism, and cross-border terrorism. Then narcotics, need for technology. There was, Prime Minister laid a lot of emphasis on cyber warriors. The cyber crime is the sunrise industry, how to tackle, how to prepare the police for the challenges. And in the whole of these stratospheric subjects, the conference never lost sight of the common man, the needs for the common man. What happens at the police station level? What kind of forensics are needed there? What sensitivity is required there? What kind of training is required there? I think these were the biggest takeaways, I would say, that that were discussed. All the senior officers in the presence of the Honorable Prime Minister and the Home Minister and the NSA discussed extensively on these issues. Presentations were made. And I think people have gone back with a lot of homework, and the deliverables will be there in the time to come.
Okay, the Prime Minister, in fact, has spoken about some kind of reforms as well. I'll come back to that in just a bit. But Mr. Singh, taking on from what Mr. Goel said, the difference that Prime Minister Modi has made to this important conference, and the other aspect being, because a lot of what the Prime Minister spoke about, the important thing is that the police needs to be sensitized. That is what concerns the common man, and I think we'll be particularly happy if the police in our country is sensitive enough. So towards that aspect also, what are the kind of efforts that we have been undertaking to ensure that police across the length and breadth of India are sensitive to the common man?
I just carry forward what Mr. Goel has already said. I have the privilege to attend the DG's conference for 6 years consecutively as police chief, since 2014 to 2019. And 2014 was the first DG's conference outside Delhi. And the Honorable Prime Minister laid a very strong and robust foundations and how to format the whole thing. The first thing that he said, in fact, what you are asking right now is about the sensitivity the first time Prime Minister spoke about smart policing in Guwahati DG's conference. And he said, how does it reflect on the performance and activities of the police? And sensitivity is one of the parts of smart policing. You are right. By navigating to all the landscapes of the police activities, the Prime Minister has gone in for all kinds of policing activities: crime prevention, crime detections, emergency response. You talk of citizens' grievances, you talk of women's safety or traffic management, or you talk of terror-related issues or money laundering. Everything under the sky he has covered. And the first and the foremost thing that he always talks about is the sensitivity part of the police.
Right.
And you are right, with such a huge population of the police force all over the country, it's very, very essential that a common man, and that is why he hasn't left the basic policing aspects of the police. He talks about that how the police can be sensitive to the people. And in one of the DG's conference, he talked about the last mile connectivity. That means the person, even on the farthest, on the last mile, he has to be given the kind of good treatment, sensitive treatment by the police. So sensitive policing is very, very important. The compassionate leadership, the sensitivity part on the part of the police, it can only come through training. There are so many ways to bring about this. I have seen it myself, and we have been carrying it out for the last couple of years. And sensitivity is one part where the police really impacts on the society and the people in a big way, in a very large way.
Clearly,
Yes.
you're right. And you know, Dr. Singh, I'll come to you now to understand, because reasonably so, we are a huge population. It's an overburdened force, and insensitivity creeps in at times because of the, heavy responsibilities and limited resources. But the fact is, when we talk about last mile connectivity, at the same time, you're putting the thrust on emerging technologies. So we've seen how digital inclusion in terms of financial aspect has empowered the population. Now, if we look at the digital aspect and the last mile connectivity, and we connect the two, can it make a difference? Can it make a difference in policing in a way that people's complaints are registered in time, they get a response in no time, and perhaps the kind of sensitivity that we are talking about, which is not in person, but it happens within no time, will that satisfy the common man?
See, first of all, I totally agree with my two outstanding friends who have served the police with great distinction. I totally agree with Goel Saab and Singh Saab that never before such a sensitivity to the performance of the police has been shown, as has been shown by Honorable Prime Minister. Prime Minister came out with two concepts. One is smart police, and in yesterday's conference, sensitive police. So smart and sensitive police. Now, smart means ability to understand the things, ability to see the data, ability to analyze the data, ability to understand the implications of the data. Sensitive means human aspect. As Gandhiji used to say, Antyodaya, that the test of every policy is that how it will affect the last person. The same thing Honorable Prime Minister yesterday emphasized upon, that whether, apart from all our smartness of technology and advancement, whether we are able to serve the people for which police really works. The Constitution of India, which is the source of all the powers and responsibilities, start with the sentence, we the people of India. The phrase is, we the people of India. So the source of power and the source of responsibility is we the people of India. And in a constitutional administrative law, there is always the question that how to give enough power to the officers so that they are able to do their job. But at the same time, what kind of safeguards should be there so that that power is utilized for the purpose for which it is given, and it is not utilized for personal motives. That part is a sensitive part. And Supreme Court over and again has emphasized that while following the rule of law, sensitivity at the ground level is to be seen. And to that extent, as you have rightly pointed out, data will play an important role. And particularly the emphasis on cyber crime, because now the crime has become of a different dimension altogether. It's not local, it's not national, it is global. And that's why data sharing is very important, and Honorable Prime Minister has emphasized upon that the central agencies and the state agencies should be able to share the information so that they can leverage that information to do the justice. My main concern is this. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says कि असुरों का नाश करने और सुरों का उत्थान करने के लिए आता हूँ. Police function is the same. That to protect the noble, right, good people and to intimidate and even need be to destroy the evil element. Biggest challenge in India is that how to make sure that criminals are not allowed to go scot-free, right, but at the same time innocent people do not suffer. Because sometimes FIRs are registered and later we discover that those were registered because of some motives. So how do we ensure that guilty people are really punished and innocent people are not harassed? And raising sensitivity of the police to that aspect is very, very important. So Prime Minister has given the roadmap. Now, what will be the decision supporting system to implement those? I suggest let there be a committee to reflect upon the recommendations and suggestions and ideas given by Honorable Prime Minister so that the ideas are converted into the reality.
Okay. So these ideas relate to sensitivity and, data sharing and how to train the police. And clearly for that, a framework has to be established. But for something like coordination between, the state police forces and the investigating agencies, we must be having a framework, or if not, how can we ensure that there is more and more cooperation in the times to come, because that will smoothen the entire procedure?
Yeah. I mean, contrary to what people might think, there is very good system of coordination between the states and the central agencies that exists. There is, of course, need to strengthen it further so that travel of information from point A to point B, from one center to state and vice versa, is faster, and information is shared freely without holding any part of it, so that on the ground results are available and crime can be nipped in the bud, or whether it is criminal activity. The CCTNS is there. Several intelligence portals are there where intelligence is shared seamlessly. But as the Prime Minister mentioned, that whatever glitches are there, whatever roadblocks are there in this, that should also be smoothened so that information flows seamlessly and overall efficiency of the police improves, and so does the national security.
That's important. When you say national security, Mr. O.P. Singh, let me come back to you. Geographically, we are placed in a position wherein we have two hostile neighbors, so two open borders, and then unstable neighborhoods, both financially in terms of rising terror activities. So for us, the security threat will always persist. So from external factors, from internal factors, we have to be well prepared. For that now, we have to ensure that our police forces, our security forces are efficiently trained in newer emerging technologies. What steps have been taken in this regard? Because now clearly the threats, more than physical, are digital in nature. So we have to be prepared accordingly.
Absolutely. I'll put it like this, that in the present scenario, when you have a lot of peculiarities and surprises, this presents a very formidable challenge for the law enforcement agencies. In fact, these challenges are how to respond, how to give a very smart response.
Right.
In fact, these challenges also demand that you need to have immense knowledge and anticipation. These challenges also demand that you have innovative and efficient practices, as well as the smart and responsive policing. If you go into the details of everything, what you see is that world is changing very, very rapidly. And for anyone concerned with future, including the police administrators, it is very, very crucial to anticipate what these changes could be and to figure out how to adapt to them. That's very important. And if possible, devise ways to use them to your advantages. This is crucial in the sense that the next 10 to 15 years is going to be very, very trying time for the police organizations. Many changes are underway, and they will all require a great type of adaptation on the part of the police organizations. And the police will have to be very, very alert, as you rightly said, about the internal security as well as about the external security, because we are surrounded by all hostile forces, be it Jammu and Kashmir or Punjab, all border areas, or even in the internal areas, as I said before, that you have to be very, very technologically savvy, you have to be smart, your response has to be very, very efficient and effective. And technology is going to play a very, very important role, because technology in next 10 to 15 years is going to dominate both the economy and society.
Right.
And technology is drastically changing the way the police forces also are doing business and carry out investigations and detections. So I think that through the emerging technology, the police will have to strengthen its resources, will have to strengthen its ways and means to deliver to the people. And how quickly, how smartly, how effectively, how efficiently we deliver, that is the challenge before the police.
Clearly, in the face of that challenge, wherein we are faced with new and emerging technologies that we are not aware of, how fast, how rapid that change could be, Mr. Goyal, the fact is, can we still linger on with the old challenges like, say, modernization, overburdened forces, maybe a lot of vacancies within the system to tackle with the problems? So, how are we going to strengthen ourselves to take care of the older problems and then move on to the newer ones? Because there has to be some kind of coordination. It seems that the older ones are lingering on, and we are faced with newer challenges.
It's a dynamic world. There is nothing static. The old problems of infrastructure, resources will persist. But we have to look at the future. And wherever there are gaps of human resources, we have to bridge the gaps with technology. I think if you look at the whole world, I think we are moving towards, we live in a cyber world now, which is very well interconnected. And this cyber world poses a lot of challenges. It gives you opportunities, but it gives you challenges also. Using AI, large data mining, and machine learning, I think we are way behind, I must say. Yes. That right now we are not even doing the GIS mapping of all the crimes. The location is not built into. If we are looking at predictive policing or evidence-based policing, then we have to start from one point. And I sometimes feel that instead of the modernization funds should be focused on bridging such gaps than dividing them into various sections and spending on those small sections. It should be focused on one big thing: making our cities safe, making our societies safer. Technology is going to play a major role in getting over the problems of the past and becoming a millennial police.
I think that's $1 million aspect and a vision that we talk about. Dr. Singh, the fact is, where are we lagging behind? That's the question, and that is where we have to work upon. So we talk about certain reforms, both within the police, or prison reforms is also a related problem. The question is, we can't be lingering on with our past and look at the future at the same time. So we have to perhaps solve these problems and then prepare accordingly, put in all our strength towards the unprecedented challenges. And cyber world is clearly an unprecedented world. So by the time we gauge the problem, there is a new problem that emerges. So like it said, ki chor hamesha 10 kadam aage hoga. How do we get rid of that kind of mindset? Which are the areas that we need to work upon?
See, to be effective in any organization, two things are needed: ability to do the things and willingness to do the things. So ability includes smart policing.
So willingness is there. Willingness is clearly there. But in the ability, what is it that we are still lagging behind on?
Well, first of all, some of the laws are totally outdated. Like police manual, and even Indian Penal Code, CRPC, came later, but IPC, right after 1857, we call it revolution, they call it Gadar or whatever. So never in India more than 3 lakhs English people came, including their priest and businessmen and all that. And even at that time, the population of India was 33 crores. So for every 1100 person, there was one English person. So it means it was a philosophy of crowd control. It was not a philosophy serving the people. So those police manuals and others are still going on, despite the fact that we have Constitution of India, which strikes a balance between requirement of the public order on the one hand and fundamental rights of dealing everybody with dignity on the other. And Honorable Prime Minister has tried to strike a balance between these two requirements, that is public order on the one hand and dignity of the people on the other. When Honorable Prime Minister says that there should be sensitive police, smart and sensitive. Now there, technology, of course, we don't have enough coordination with the leaders of technology in the world, like Stanford, Harvard University, where I was, where the latest cutting-edge technology is being developed. We should have much more coordination with advanced technologies, so that if a crime happens outside India, we are able to locate it. And that's why advanced technologies transfer are to be done as we do in science and technology in other areas. And as far as willingness is concerned, police people should be highly motivated only when they are not abused or misused by so many forces. So in old times, we used to have, apart from policing, panchayats and all that. So since the number of the police is going to be much less than what India requires, coordination of the local people, taking them into confidence in law. Now, apart from the courts, we have started arbitration, conciliation, mediation. Same kind of thing we should start with the police also, trying to resolve the problem as far as possible amicably before the coercive forces are used.
Clearly, Mr. Singh, so lots of expectations from the police. There have been recommendations on what the police should do. But as someone who's been part of the department for so long, what should be done for the police to keep them motivated? Because unless they are motivated, none of these things are going to work. So that's one question that I would like to ask you. What are the roadblocks? What are the shortcomings within the system? And how can we keep our police forces motivated?
You know, this is a very fundamental question, and each and every one should think that a very responsive and dynamic organization like police, moving in sync with the changing times, that's what is required. And when we talk of reforms, when we talk of motivations, when we talk of initiatives and so many things, we'll have to keep one thing in mind, that the initiative or the reform has to be all round. It has to be in a very holistic manner. It has to be at the people's level. It has to be at the process level. It has to be at the technology level. And at the same time, it has to be at the leadership level. Unless we have a very multi-pronged strategy to bring reforms, to bring initiatives, to motivate the police personnel, there are so many reasons. If you talk of the difficulties being faced by the police, that is there. But over the last many years, we have been trying to overcome all these difficulties, that the people need to be sensitized about the role of the police in a democratic society like ours. So I think there are many challenges, and technology is one challenge where we have to go for in a big way, but at the same time, behavioral part of the police, we have to bring out a massive transformation in our system, in our behavior, in our conduct, in our professionalism, in our technological aspects, in all domains of policing, so that the people think there is no trust deficit between people and the police. You know, that's the major problem. That why do the people think that we are not so friendly towards them? So that trust deficit has to be bridged, and there are many ways, through training, through counseling, through enhancing the police professionalism, to have a community police interface very rapidly and very massively. At the same time, participating and involving all the stakeholders in the society, be it the people, be it the community, everybody. So all these measures need to be taken, all these initiatives, as I said, that at all the four levels, at the people, at the process, at the technology, and at the same time at the leadership level. Even my constable is a leader in his own domain. The sub-inspector, the SHO, the circle officer, the SPs, they're all leaders in their designated areas. And they need to be empowered. They need to be empowered, and they know the importance of the rule of law. Unless they become friendly in a very sensitive and professional manner, perhaps we'll have the challenges ahead.
Clearly. Mr. Goyal, I'll take the last question from you, because you've served across different forces, not just the police. The fact is, challenges for the security forces are immense. How do you deal with the trust deficit that Mr. O.P. Singh just spoke about? Because we understand there is need to sensitize, but the fact is there is also the trust deficit which will deter you from doing or you're fulfilling your responsibility. So how have, for over the years, our security forces dealt with all of that?
Tina, you have thrown the most difficult question at me. Anyway, trust deficit, you see, I always believe that if you are professional, if you do things without rag and dvesh, you be equanimous, and you are true to your job, people would be trusting you. And most of the people who deal with compassion, and if empathy and listening are built into our training of policemen, half of the problems are solved. After all, when a person walks into a police station, he is not coming to give a wedding card. He has a problem that needs to be heard.
Right.
And once that training is given, people are made to understand the way our processes are, and we interact with them, we listen to them, we provide service to them. That master-servant relationship should never exist. It should be friend of the people. Once you do it, and I'm very glad that a lot of initiatives are being taken at the local level by the constabulary, by the SHOs, circle inspectors, and the superintendents of police and the DGPs, and all structure of the police is geared towards changing the perspective from being a muscular force to a friendly force. And I see that the way technology is coming in, timelines are being set in that. The delivery of service is becoming important. With technology coming in, investigation will also improve. With education and better training, when police starts delivering, doing the work in professional manner, the trust deficit will definitely decrease. And we work in a multi-ethnic society where the requirements of each segment are very, very different. And balancing all those factors is very tough. But hats still off to the policemen on the ground that they are able to respond to the situations. And innovations or interventions like 112. I must say what Mr. Singh State, UP did, and all over the country now it is done. 112, that within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, a police response car is at your door.
In fact, that's what the Prime Minister also spoke about, that how there should be a culture of sharing the best practices within the states.
Yes.
So maybe an experiment which has succeeded in one state could be shared with the other state to see if it works in that particular area also to solve problems of the people. The most important aspect is that the service should be to make it easy, friendly and simple for the people. It should be a seamless procedure and not a one that is filled with hassle. So let's hope that all of these aspects that we have spoken about will be worked upon. The recommendations that the Prime Minister has, in fact, spoken about and emphasized upon to bring about some kind of police reforms will become a reality in the times to come. With that hope, I'll have to wind up the program. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for joining me in this edition of Perspective, sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. And to you viewers, thank you very much for your time. I'll see you same time tomorrow now. Take good care of yourselves. Keep watching Sansad TV.